You know that, right? It doesn't, like, a lot of the New Age pursuits are about self-improvement or bettering your personality or something. Advaita, actually, what it proposes is that the very act of wanting to be realized is an egoic pursuit, and that false, I mean, this is what I understand, is that false part of yourself that wants to be God, essentially, is the very one that's out of touch with the fact that you already are. Mm-hmm. So your interest was in being part of a, this, I think he wanting to do exactly what was the reason that I was putting this together. You just wanted to hang out with people to share your spiritual longing or feeling.
Yeah, just, share what I've been reading and studying and trying to figure out, definitely. And I interact with my father a lot, but he's 700 miles away. And he's got another friend that he talks to a lot, and he's got a good relationship there. So here I don't have, I've got a couple of people that, kind of expressed a little interest and said, oh yeah, that's curious. And this area is just full of semi-enlightened people, or people that are searching.
Simoyan?
Semi?
Semi-enlightened.
Uh-huh.
And so, that's what I'd like to pursue. Get some, some, I guess, brethren or whatever. Just talking, feeling like there's somebody else out there that's into this. Because where I work, it's non-existent. It's a bunch of Republicans, so it's kind of frustrating sometimes. But yeah, so I saw what you were doing, and it, it's close, and so I wanted to be part of it, I guess. Some interaction.
So there's a lot of New Age people in San Diego County.
Yes, lots.
Yeah. Yeah, I originally came here invited by one of them. And it's true, it's annoying after a while. Like I used to go to the Holbein weekend.
The Holbein?
The Holbein weekend.
Oh, okay.
The Holbein weekend is an yearly event. You want to tell them you've been?
I've been twice.
Yeah.
It's basically a whole bunch of, pardon my language, New Age bullshit. Mm-hmm. There's a couple things of actual concrete nature, but most things are, as far as I'm concerned, fairyland and fantasy world. That's somehow about getting what you want so you can be happy.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, it's really funny because, after being exposed to satsang for like 4 or 5 years, I went to a New Thought church.
Where is that?
Science of Mind.
Okay.
So one of the Science of Mind churches. And they were affirming what non-dualism teaches. Okay, but they were affirming it. Mm. Not seeing if it's true, they were affirming it. Mm-hmm. And every time they opened their mouth, I cringed. Because they're trying to believe what's true. Mm-hmm. I was like,
right.
And I'm sitting there, and after like 5 minutes, I said, I got to leave. My friend said, stay a few more minutes. So I stayed a few more minutes, then I left.
Right.
And I haven't been back. They have nothing that I want.
Right. Yeah.
I want freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. And where do you think that freedom is from?
From believing that I'm not free. For believing that I'm this thought process that goes on, whatever the thinking is.
From your mind.
Freedom from freedom from actually trusting anything that comes into my head. Every single awakened teacher that I've heard eventually at some point says, I don't believe what I think. Every single one will say some variation on that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that was very freeing for me was that I had this concept that an enlightened teacher like Jesus or Buddha or Krishna lived in this nirvana state, exuded it, and was never troubled by their mind. And one of the things that, and I had this teacher, Guru Maharaj, you know Maharaji? Have you heard of Guru Maharaji?
I've heard the name,
Yeah. Maharaji. He calls himself Perma what now?
I don't know that one.
Okay. Well, you know, I run into him in '73 for the first time, and then in '74 I became a disciple, and he taught me the knowledge, which is the meditation techniques, you know. And I followed him for like 6, 7 years very closely. I traveled all over the world and just, you know, and essentially, I'm losing track here. And it was good in some ways, because the thing with Maharaji was his whole anchor was that meditation was the key, you know, and that it wasn't just, you know, open eye meditation or walking meditation or, you know, some other kind of meditation, but it was really sitting down and doing his 4 techniques, you know, that was the only meditation allowed, and that he was the only guru, you know, that was real, existing in the moment, and you know, because he was really promoting himself. And of course then I found the same techniques of meditation in this other book by the teacher of microbiotics, Misha Kushi, who I had studied with.
Macrobiotics.
Macrobiotics.
Oh, wow.
He taught the same exact techniques of meditation. But you know, I was devoted, and I was sincere, and I believed in him, and I kissed his feet, and I had amazing experiences, you know. But I was also quite miserable, you know. It was like my addictions were running wild, and you know what I mean. It's like my life was up and down. You know, it was like ecstasy and agony. You know, it wasn't like tranquility or peace of mind. But his whole claim to fame was that the knowledge that the meditation was perfect, and that it could liberate you. You know, and you know, he teaches it still, and he still ensnares people into it, and there's now websites of people that hate him, you know, and it's like anything, you get what you put out of it into it, and you get what you distill out of it,
right.
You know, but essentially it's your own reflection. It's like in this moment, you know, whatever you're experiencing is more a reflection of your own heart, you know, than it is of the world around you. You know, and it is nice to have meditation to kind of clean the slate, to have a pure place to go to, where, you know, you are alone with that reflection, you know, where you're alone with that experience. You know, it's
something I've never been able to experience.
meditation.
Right.
Well, we'll do a little bit of it.
Trying for
Huh?
I've been off and on been trying forever since I was in high school.
What do you do? What have you tried?
You know, I read the TM book for a while. That was kind of maybe the first one for very long. And then I went to Deepak Chopra's 10 years ago and got my own little mantra, or whatever you call it. And then, you know, yoga stuff here and there, and some Zen stuff here and there. Just the mind keeps bothering me all the time.
Right. Right.
It's a lack of control, or I don't know, something there.
Steve, you look like you wanted to say that, or somehow this interested you.
Oh no, I just had my own experiences too,
Mhm.
that I'd share whenever you were done. Yeah, for me it was, I didn't start right away. I was, you know, very much an engineering mind. I had glimpses of fear of death, and I just kept, you know, push it away and keep going along. And then I started doing some personal development work and stuff like that. And at one point I went through the training offered by John Kabat-Zinn, mindfulness meditation. They teach you 8 different ways to meditate. And then I've tried different things. I went to a Vipassana retreat for 10 days, and that's just body scanning. And then I've had glimpses of something a little different recently, just from what teachers have been saying for years, but it's finally starting to hit me, is just sit down, shut up, and relax. And leave your mind alone. And every so often the mind will just not stop going, but just release me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'd feel the whole body like collapse into the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And that lasts, a few minutes here or there, and which I'm very grateful for.
Right.
And it tells me that there, it's a glimpse of a perspective that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you meditate? Just curious.
Well, every day.
Wow.
What I do, my meditation's not standard. What I do is I do it morning or night, and usually I fall asleep during it because I think I got some lethargy going on or something. But basically I listen to an Ajashanti thing. Put it in, room's dark, quietly listen to it, and an hour later I'm done. I'll I'll either have slept or actually heard him or not, and I'm content with that right now. But I've been in other rooms where somebody's leading a meditation, and they're leading whatever they want,
Right.
and I'm just going, relax.
Right.
And the closest thing I got to that is what I saw Ajashanti do once, which is hold your hand tight. Because it's hard for me to describe. Relaxing is a non-doing, so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and when I just okay, here, and once in a while I get something like that.
Right. What about you, Susie? What's your meditation experience?
You have to turn the camera on yourself.
Yeah. You wanna? No.
I have
I'm
to.
just
I'm
joking.
I get to do whatever.
She's
I
the
want.
All right.
I was wondering if she was going to say that.
Well, I don't like people to tell me how to do it. And I don't like them to tell me if what I'm doing is wrong or right, or it's not meditation, I've done yoga, I've gone to workshops and done all sorts of things, and, we've done things here, and I've had really profound experiences of relaxation, and I forget about it and forget how valuable it is, and I buzz around, but, sometimes I feel like the earth has it just invites me, into this place, and like we were in Julian, and we were sitting there, and we were looking at the vista, and to me, okay, that's very easy to just go into a meditation and just be peaceful, and because I was saying I don't think I could do it with my eyes open, but I think it just happens, There's times when I'm struggling and I'm trying and I'm hearing all these voices and and then sometimes it's just so subtle. It's just like, okay, well, I'm just going to just be here right now. There'll be something that will tick me off, like and I don't mean to make me angry. I mean there'll be a hummingbird, or there'll be something, and or the sky. Yesterday he was reading the paper and I said, the sky is just singing right now. I looked up there, I saw the moon, and there was these wisps of clouds, and I thought, and my mind was so busy, and I just stopped and looked, and so to me, there's just many different ways to meditate,
Yeah, essentially, if you're satisfied with your experience, who the hell is gonna argue with that? You know what I mean? It's like if you're generally happy with whatever, who's gonna go in there? People will do that, I suppose, when they're salespeople. Will try and beat down whatever you got going to push their product onto you, But if you're happy with whatever you got going, it's very difficult for somebody else to convince you that there's something wrong with it, if you're smart enough. I remembered what I started to say was that the thing that liberated me with Advaita was that I used to have this concept that a master was this enlightened being that just lived in samadhi all the time and exuded this energy, you know, that was
Thank you.
that was you know, perfect, you know, you know what I mean? In other words, like, he was never in his mind, that everything he said or did was perfect, that, you know the concept? That, and I realized that that wasn't true, you know, that in fact, Jesus, when he was in the desert or something, 40 nights or something, right? He was being tempted by the devil or whatever, you know. So that, you know, the truth is that a master is a human being who knows who they are. It's not that, you know, you can screw him in any way you want and he won't get angry, or that he'll never react, that he'll always be compassionate, that, you know what I mean? It's not these things that we attach to God, you know, that God is all powerful and therefore and that, you know, when he came in the flesh in Jesus, and, you know, he just took all the shit from everybody and he still loved it. This is just not the way people are, you know. We have human nature. And that doesn't really predispose us to not being that essence, you know. You kind of with me here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that it's okay, you know, whatever you're experiencing. And with Prasad, he made it clear that this wasn't about fixing your personality. Therefore, it was okay to just give it full rein. You know, it's like, so, whereas before I was, you know, like with Maharaji, I was, you know, being vegetarian, I was trying this, I was trying that, and all these different things which I thought were spiritual and acceptable. With Prasad, I realized it wasn't really about anything to do with the personality. That Marcelo, I mean, one of the things he made me realize is that there's a thin line between insanity and realization. You know, because a schizophrenic person, like we're seeing in the island, he has multiple personalities, you know, and a realized being is able to see his personality as separate from himself, you know. And in that vantage point of seeing the failings of your personality, like when I started this group, I realized what a Nazi I was with people. You know, if like I asked you out of the group because you weren't coming to meetings, but you were going to Albert's meetings, and I was in competition with Albert. You know what I mean? Doing some really crazy shit, you know, that wasn't endearing myself to people. I mean, I had some people that didn't really appreciate it. And I got to see that I had some real difficulty in interpersonal relationships. So...
Ironic.
Huh?
How ironic.
At first I took it very hardly, you know, because it was like, you know, I wanted, it's like my ego wanted to be the teacher, you know, and then I had to realize that, sorry, but, you know, it's not about you, you know. It's like, it's the wonder that everybody brings, their thirst, that brings anything out of anybody, out of each other. And that's really what I wanted initially, was a group where we empower one another because we listen to one another. We realize that if it's in me. And Prasad came to that point. He said, you know, in order for me to wake people up, I've been waking people up, he said, for 3 years. And then I realized that in order for me to wake people up, I have to see you as asleep first. You know, so he has to have a perception that somehow he's better than somebody else, which is completely flawed. You know, to see yourself separate from others. And so the thing about meditation is that what you are is the backdrop to everything else that's going on. You're not, like, like when you watch a movie or something, the protagonist is out there, and we identify with the protagonist, the agony and the ecstasy and the heroicness and the suffering and everything, and that's like the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the light that's passing through the film, and I guess that's like our life energy, But the screen that's completely oblivious, to whatever is being shown on it, and it will pass whatever movie you put on it. That's actually who you are. So if you identify with a protagonist, that's the nutty guy that might try to put on a workshop and realize how crazy. That's the thing that we go for in life. That keeps us feeling like we have to accomplish something. And maybe the light is the thing that ends when our life is over. That we're so afraid of that it's going to end, because that protagonist is very afraid that his role will end, because it's an unreal role. It has an ending, and it knows that it has an ending, and it's a scary thought. Your fear of death. Mm-hmm. It's a scary thought because you're so identified with your ego, which only exists in my perception of you and how others see you, and
in my own mind,
in your own mind, in whatever it is. So, but the screen doesn't really care either way. Whether the light is on it, it's still there. Whether the light is not on it, whatever film is being projected, it's still there. And that's actually who you are. Through lifetime after lifetime, through planet after planet, through galaxy after galaxy, you are this never-ending thing, that, goes back. It's like the dream ends, the movie ends, and you revert back into consciousness, or awareness.
So where does meditation fit into that metaphor?
Okay, so the thing with meditation, how you said you each had your different things. Like with you had experiences and you've done it different ways, and you hate people telling you how to do it. Right?
No, I don't mind sharing, but I don't want them to say that I'm wrong.
Right.
They don't know my experience, so,
Mm-hmm.
as long as they don't tell me that I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. So if they tell you that you're right, it's okay.
Just to be open to where, it feels good to me,
Uh-huh.
and so that's the part, and I don't mind sharing, different
In other
ways.
words, you value your own experience above other people's valuing of it or not.
Right.
Okay. Isn't she the perfect mate for me? It's like if I ever had delusions of grandeur that I can tell people what to do.
yeah, but so is her meditation wrong?
Well, by Maharaji's standards, it would be, completely off. But she gets something out of it, so, she'll argue me to, and I switched away from Maharaji's meditation anyway. Because the whole thing with meditation, I had this homeopathic teacher, and he said the disease has an energetic origin, you have an energetic origin. Therefore, the cure must have an energetic origin. So, the thing with meditation, a lot of people seem to agree that meditation can be a vehicle for experiencing peace of mind. That somehow the movement of mind unchecked can be an obstacle to your serenity. Would you agree with that assessment? Does that sound right?
Can be.
Can be. I mean, people seem to say that these different things that you...
I knew a guy I met a guy who was walking across his front lawn and woke up.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was going nuts. Luckily, he knew somebody who knew a teacher. Who was
Yeah,
brought to the
you
teacher.
need to explain your definition of woke up, because maybe not everybody
Okay.
is on the same page. And while you do that, I need to pee.
And then I'm going to go after you.
Okay.
So when I say wake up, it's similar to what he talked about is finding out what you really are. The way I described it is, I know I'm not my body. You can cut off parts of my body and there's still a sense of me. I know I'm not my thoughts. They change all the time. They come and go, yet there's this awareness. Okay? And from what I can tell, people who are the happiest are the ones that don't identify with their body and don't identify with their mind.
Right.
Okay? And it's not even that they identify with the background, is they just don't bother identifying anymore. Okay? And so that's, actually that's what I was going to say. So like for meditation, the things like meditation and other things, the way I heard it is, okay, whether or not you recognize the truth of what you are is just up to the universe, up to grace or whatever. All we can do is try to prime the pump. So we do these things, and then maybe, we'll hear something, we'll say something, we'll forget something. I've heard it say, yeah, you could just, drop soap in the bathroom, bend over, pick it up, and wake up. It could happen anywhere, anytime, and it's just like. But as long as I'm flooding my attention into my mind, it seems like it's less likely that I'm going to be non-attached to it and somehow see what's real, or see from a perspective of, well, there's mind, there's body, what's seeing it all. So.
Yeah.
So I can talk this stuff all day long.
Did you want to...
Yeah.
You just to the left and then right. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh, I mean, I've been, studying that concept. But it certainly seems, with my analytical, I'm engineering background also, and very analytical, and it seems so entrenched and deep in the self and the ego there that just it's hard to conceptualize that letting go at this point.
Which letting go?
The enlightenment, I guess, for lack of a better word, the awakening.
And the way he described it, I got something about happiness. I couldn't quite hear everything from the bathroom.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I know what he's trying to say, but I don't.
He was saying this guy bent down to pick up a bar of soap. What was that?
No, he said it could just happen at any time. This letting go or this awakening,
and he described the awakening as.
He didn't really. I mean, I guess it's probably pretty hard to describe because it's supposedly beyond words.
So I think what he was saying is that the awakening is somehow the perception of yourself, not just as a sum total of your thoughts or your body.
Right.
Is that how were you this thing about awakening? How were you? What was it to wake up?
I haven't.
No, but I mean that your understanding.
My understanding is to recognize that I'm not is.
I thought he said it real good about the body. You could cut off
Okay,
your
I know
arms.
I'm not my body. I cut an arm off and I'm still here.
Yeah.
No matter where I look for myself in my body, it always seems to not be there. I feel something here. What's looking at it? Well, that's here. But what's looking at that? Well, that's it's like I can never find it in my body. Okay. My thoughts, they come and go. They change all the time. So I know I'm not my thoughts. There still seems to be something noticing it. You called it the background. I've actually said that. I did a who am I kind of thing for like 2 hours. What are you? I'm the background.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's somehow that the identification gets out of the ego
Mm-hmm.
and just sort of sits, you know, in this recognizing it's the background, but not as a personal thing. And that's what I've seen other people seem to hear from other people who have lived life in a happier way. So they're not attached to the ego, they're not attached to their body. You know, I mean, stuff still comes up, like you said, you know, but it's like it's not taken seriously.
So your interest in awakening is happiness. It's connected to happiness, right?
Oh, a whole bunch of things. Happiness, peace of mind.
Mm-hmm. But you see it as a happier state.
I don't see it as a state. I see happiness as a result.
Okay.
Okay. I see that the freedom of it, the freedom. You call it liberation. He liberated you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that liberation would, for lack of a better way of saying, allow me to experience life with a heck of a lot less resistance.
Mm-hmm.
To let life flow through me, over me, around me, and I ride the roller coaster and see where it takes me.
Just be open to whatever is.
Yeah, and you know, like you said, it doesn't mean that the ego is going to disappear. I'm fairly sure I'm going to piss people off, and they're going to piss me off, and I'll deal with it.
Now, do you think that you're not open to that? Because I mean, you know, you showed up here today.
No, I'm open. On one level, I'm open.
Okay.
There's a lot of openness, and yet there's, you know, what is it? Ramana said the only thing that keeps you from waking up is the belief you're not awake.
Did you say that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty profound.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I'm strongly like, here am I, I'm here, you know, wake me up, you know, wake me up, and it's like, I'm totally aware that I'm 100% in contradiction.
Yeah, this me that wants to be hit with the awakening
doesn't exist.
Yeah, but beyond that, wants to own it. Okay, wants to get some hit out of it. Wants to get some kind of a thing out of it. And it can't.
Yeah, I was watching an Adyashanti thing, and it was basically getting it down to, no matter what you do, you cannot wake up. It's just impossible for the ego to wake up.
It's not in your hands.
It's not in my hands, and it's not even something that I would get. That waking up is not part, it's something that the ego can't even receive it. Because it's like, well, I'm still ego-based. If it happens to me. So it's like, I understand that, the ego understands that. And so and when I hear that, I just start getting really despairing because, oh, great, no matter what I do, me, can't wake up. Me is always going to be ego.
So it's really a matter of trust.
It's a matter, well, I've always heard there's 2 ways to find out. Find the truth or surrender. And for me,
Right.
surrender requires to say, okay, I'm willing to go to the truth no matter what the consequence.
Okay, so that's why you wrote that in your thing. Because this group, I started it through meetup.com. And then when people join, they each say, you know, a little piece. And he was saying something like that you want to find the truth no matter what. That you want to go the whole gamut or something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to the meditation thing. Okay, so first I went to, back in like 69, 70, I went to this talk by somebody that was teaching transcendental meditation to him. And, you know, it was pretty new. The Beatles had like bringing it in, and this was in Boston. And I thought, you know, I'm going to do that. I wasn't drawn to it. And then I learned that, in TM you learn a mantra, and you repeat this mantra. And there's some technology behind it that, you know, really the thing is the mantra will somehow engage your mind, and it will quiet your mind, or it will bore your mind, or, you know. And I didn't really know the difference between me and my mind, or, you know, So it sounded really boring, and not something I could sit and do. You know, in fact, I knew somebody, and she told me what her mantra was, and it was Emma. So she was to repeat, you know, this is what you do internally or externally, I guess, what you meditate. But I thought, I could never do that. Now, Maharaji, he taught meditation. It was a lot more interesting. You know, he taught these 4 techniques. You know, he was basically teaching that if you close your senses off to the outside, you know, then the inner energy, you'll be more attuned to it. So he would like teach us the light technique, which was, you know, to like, and I can show you if you guys want later, you know, to like close up your eyes and focus on your third eye. Then the music, which is basically to close your ears, you know, and the nectar, which was to put it, your tongue, try to bring it back. You may have heard of these. And then the word, you know, which was to focus on our breath. You know, and he had some good reasons why these, you know, like biblical passages that alluded to them and stuff. So I did that for a long time. I had some tremendous experiences out of it. But going back to this guy that said to me, you know, if the disease is energetic, you're energetic, the cure has to be energetic. What I've come to realize is that if the disturbing factor is the mind, which is, you know, trying to quiet the mind, right? Then using a mental exercise isn't going to cut it. You know, because it's like the whole thing that if the ego is the one that wants to be realized, it's not going to be able to be realized, because it's the thing that isn't wanting to be what it isn't. It just isn't going to make it. You know what I mean? And that's the very reason it wants to be that thing. It's because it knows at some level that it isn't. Okay. So if you remove that, what's left is you.
So the part that wants to wake up has all this energy about making a change, and the part that's awake doesn't really care.
The part that's awake simply is.
It just is. It doesn't have an issue with anything.
No.
And so all these desires are automatically not from the perspective of what's happy with whatever is.
Yeah. Yeah, the part that wants to become something also has to deny that it is that in order to want to become it.
Yeah, I'm not awake, I gotta wake up. But who says you're not awake?
Right. Yeah. So it can be very engaging and indulging. The problem is that it can waste your entire existence in that pursuit, because it's not leaving you alone to enjoy the perfection, the bliss of who you are. And when you sit down to meditate, you know, you're directly saying to the universe, you know, let's take a breather here, you know, it's like, I know I have things to do, I know, you know, they're important and whatever, but, you know, I just want to do nothing for a little while. I just want to enjoy this, you know. And if you do that enough on a daily basis, it starts to realize that, you know, it's going to have a difficult time taking the space away from you. But it may realize that on the outside, but it tries then to take the space away from you on the inside, you know, to come and trouble you with thoughts, or, you know, like Maharaji would say, you know, your mind will come in and say, you know, you left your iron on, and you go, but I don't even have it. You know, it will just come in. You know, he said, if you're sitting down to dinner and you're in the middle of your soup and somebody takes your spoon away and goes, you've had enough. So what happens is that there's such a tremendous joy to be experienced that after you've tasted it enough, you're not willing to let anybody take it away from you for any reason. You just will not settle for that, you know. And it is who you are. It's not like that experience is hard to get, or like you can even get it. You know, I mean, one of the beautiful things that I got out of Ramana Maharshi saying is that, you know, it will all, you know, like in the movie that we saw, I have that movie, you know, if you want to borrow I have burned some, pirated some movies, you know, and where he says, in the end it all comes together, you know. In other words, there's nothing you can really do to make it happen. It's not in your hands at all. But it's going to be okay, you know. It's and meditation is very much like that. It's not that I can produce it in any way, and I certainly have stories going when I sit down about, you know, wanting to engage me in maybe paying attention to my breath. Like this friend of mine, he used to teach TM, and he said to me, you know, Marcelo, there's something that happens in TM where people just fall into this alpha state. It's not the techniques or anything, you know. So there's some phenomena which is ongoing. It just never ends. Otherwise we couldn't be, you know, much less be alive or be breathing. We couldn't even exist without it, which is what we are. So there's nothing you can really do to create or cause it, because in meditation, the mind, I find that there comes a period when I first start meditating, my mind wants to focus and concentrate and somehow, you know, create it in some way, the experience. Mm-hmm. But after a while, there's a shift where I realized that the experience simply is, no matter how afraid I am to disturb it and cause it to go away, or how much I want to fight it and see if it's real, you know, or anything. There's nothing I can really do in either direction for or against it, which is a real relief, because so much of the time we're there thinking that, you know, we might take the experience away from ourselves, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's a source of agony, you know, to go around with that fear, you know. And oh, I'm going to keep the fridge up because it makes that noise. So that's a liberating realization, you know, that you're not doing the meditation. But having said that, the commitment to sitting every day and being still, you know, is very important. And I would also say, for me, because what I experience when I meditate is that like the energy moves through my body, you know, like they say the chakras or something, you know, and that's just my own thing. I'm aware of it, is that not to rest my back. When I'm really tired, I will do it, and I will too fall asleep. Generally, I'm too tired to sit up without resting my back. Mm-hmm. I will tend to fall asleep and maybe even snore, you know. But that's usually rare, and I usually have mate in the morning. Some people will have coffee or tea or whatever you do, your exercise, cold shower, whatever you do to wake up, so that you're like present and fresh, you know, and there, you know. But that's the meditation. But waking up is not something that can happen to you at any time. You know, like, it's not like something in the past. It's like something in this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, there's paradoxes all over the place. You know, I can meditate my whole life, but there's waking up, which is only now.
You said
meditate my whole life.
Right.
There's only waking up now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, there's no real path.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real practice.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they still talk about, whenever you remember to, ask yourself the question, who are you?
Well, I
You know.
that sounds like work too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like if you're, if you go into a place and the temperature's perfect and you're not hot or cold, you don't go, oh, can they turn on the heat or can they turn on the AC? It doesn't. Or if you're at a party and you're really happy, you're having a great time, you don't go, why? You know what I mean? So these points in which you're asking yourself. That's points when your mind is active and it's trying to compensate for experience, but the experience of fulfillment doesn't feel like it's lacking anything.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it's like the whole idea of people who, like, for example, if I feel separate, okay, there's no sense of feeling connected. There's either separate or normal, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's either separate or okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's no, because feeling connected doesn't make sense. It's like, I'm just here. To me, it's like, it's only when my mind kicks in and starts telling the story, that's when all that kind of energy comes up. I don't know if that makes any sense or not.
Well, tell me a little more. Which kind of energy comes up? Yeah, it's like I take this off, I'm cold, I put it on, I'm hot.
Leave, just do one arm.
The one-armed bandit.
I've had this odd experience. It's like, I guess it's just, maybe because I've never described it before, but there's a sense of causelessness to an experience.
Causelessness.
So it'll be
That
just-
it's happening by itself.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, well, happiness or whatever. But I can't call it happiness. There's just this thing, okay, that I don't have an issue with. There's no issue with this. It's one, I could call it wonderful. I could call it happy, peaceful. There seems to every so often something come up like that. Okay, I don't get a sense it's this bliss, what some people call bliss. This blissed out thing. I don't think I've ever had that. But just like, yeah, it's all okay in that moment. And there's no description to that. But what's not okay, I have a ton of description about. That's what I'm saying. I can describe not okay a million different ways.
So in this moment, what is it like?
Tightness in the chest, discomfort, wanting things to be different, frustration.
What's it like for you right
Right now,
now?
there's a little bit of self-consciousness. I'm physically pretty comfortable.
This make you feel really self-conscious.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It's like on a cerebral level, I understand what's going on here, but it seems, on a more internalized or whatever you call it level, it's like really wanting a lot, but I'm still feel like I'm a long ways away. It's real intriguing, and I say, wow, that's really neat, but it's there's still such a long ways to go, a lot of steps or something. And it's fascinating, and it's certainly so welcomed to actually hear it instead of just reading about it all the time. So, I guess interesting, fascinating is what I feel right now, as much as anything. I don't know.
What about you, Susie? What do you feel?
Right now, or throughout this whole time.
Right now, start with right now, then you can get it throughout this whole time.
Well, I don't know. I was thinking, this head, all this words, and all this stuff. and yesterday, and you know, all this stuff going on, and I'll hear this thing popping into my head. Oh, there's his shoes over there. I should have put those away, you know, and oh, you know, come back to the room, you know, and you know, wanting to be accepted, you know, and hearing some of, you know, the things that you don't like, you know, and then my curiosity, well, you know, how come, you know, and what don't you like? And I know I'm certainly been there, you know, and I'm certainly there every day, you know, that certain things should be a certain way, and then, you know, and then hearing you, it's like, yeah, you think about that stuff, and it's so great that you do, and I'm glad that you do, and that you remind me of that stuff all the time. And you know, I'm looking at you, I'm thinking about your perspective, and what's it like, you know, so it's interesting, you know, and it's like, but when you first hear, like, oh God, I feel so nervous about people coming here, I wish I could get over that, you know, and I don't know, this is all that stuff, millions of things.
I have to be real about that. When you said, and for you, you think about that stuff, I thought you were going to say, that's great for you, but it's too much work.
It's too much work.
No. Yeah, it's no problem. I have 4 grandchildren, and you said you never experienced bliss before. And
Well, some people, whatever they call bliss, if you tell me what it is, maybe I would have an experience, tell you what I've had that. But as far as I know, no like overwhelming joy or anything like that.
is there, what makes you happy? I mean, what have you had? What experience have you had in life that you would call joyful or happy?
Okay, so the reason I asked...
Wait a minute, I had a
I'm sorry,
question.
sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, is there anything that you feel like you'd like to share?
Not really. I mean, it's just, basically I've been, the way I describe it is I've been malcontent for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, okay, we're born, we're going to die, that's it. And then, and at one point I actually reached a certain level of acceptance until I met teachers, and I went, oh, great, now it's this, now I got to go through a whole other piece of crap. And, but it actually gave me hope, which hope is another word of, is just the alternate form of misery. You know, and you know, it's funny you asked me why I don't teach. I think if I ever got the hang of this, I'd enjoy teaching because it would be fun. But yeah, so there's this underlying current of unhappiness, just the general. And all the exercises of the mind to make me happy, I see through them. They're all another form of illusion. You know, I mean, I love it when a teacher says the reason you become happy is when you in the moment you don't need anything.
Well, the reason I asked you, what were you feeling right now, right, at this moment, is because I was feeling, I still am, feeling pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you know, you came up with these some things that are a little disconcerting to you about, you know, your discontentment or the tightness here, and what was it? You know, these things that they seemed a little off, which wasn't part of my perception. In this moment, I'm very satisfied. It's like something in me is loving this moment, you know, because here we are, you know, we're all talking about the shit that I really love, you know, so like she said, you know, you always think about this and stuff, so we're like sharing this moment. It's like, I feel the grace, you know, I feel it, you know, it's like the divinity, you know, and so I asked you that, because that was my perception, and a part of me thought, well, that's what he's going to say, oh, this feels so great. But no way, you know, it's like the discontent. I think that, you know, it's like, I had a customer recently, he was very difficult. I'm a painting contractor. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was, he had a hard time paying for, he was very demanding. So finally I said, you know what, we're done. It's like, I've done enough for you. And, because we had done the first part, I said, and I'm not going to do the second part. And he said, well, you have a dissatisfied customer here, and this whole thing, he was trying to make me feel guilty to extract some more blood out of me. And it was like, I didn't want to insult him and say, look, it's like, I couldn't care less about your story, because I know where it's coming from, I know what you're trying to get out of me, and you've sucked enough blood as it is. But this is the discontent in us. Wants to get a little bit more. And, that's how kids, like, when they cry, when they demand, it's, this is how they get what they want. It's like, you have to respect it in children because they need to meet their needs, and maybe there are certain unmet needs in you, and, but I think there's also a part of us that gets all the attention because it's so dissatisfied. It's like there's this story of this, when Jesus was on the planet and he's walking around, he's healing people, he runs into this blind guy. And the blind guy, says, oh, will you give me sight? And he says, as your faith is, so you shall be healed. And lo and behold, the guy regains his sight, So then Jesus comes back through the same town, and the guy goes up to him, hey, you got to help me. Well, what's the matter? He said, well, remember when you walked by and you gave me sight? And he said, yeah. Well, it so turns out I'm a beggar, and I used to make my living, from begging. And people would give me alms because I was blind. But now, I can't make a living, so will you take it away? So there's a little bit of that there's a part of us that gets a charge, that gets its meal out of this discontent. And it's not going to give it up that easy when it's used to getting the attention that it's...
There may be part of that true. That's true. For me, I have a sense that there is a perspective in how to see life. Okay, I'll give you a different one. You ever watch Star Trek, the movies?
Yeah.
Okay, Star Trek 4.
Oh, the movies, I watched the episodes.
You didn't want to watch the Star Trek 4 because it was really violent in the beginning, really, right? It was a lot of... No?
Well, no, I haven't watched that one.
Okay, there's an episode where Spock dies. Okay. They find a few of his cells.
A few of his cells.
Cells. They regenerate them. His soul is in McCoy. And they put the soul back into the body. Okay. Star Trek 4 begins, they're going to go back to Earth because there's a problem that they need to solve back in time. So they're getting in the ship, and McCoy says to Spock, he says, so what's it like? And Spock says, what do you mean? He says, death and then birth. And Spock's response basically is, well, unless you've been there, we don't have a point of conversation. Okay? So this perspective of awareness is a point that I can intellectually have a tiny understanding that it's there, but I have no clue about it. And that's where my pain exists, in that I'm sitting here going, you're handing me the damn bowl of food, and I don't know how to eat it. And it's extremely frustrating, it's agitating, it makes me very sad and hopeless. That you're handing me a meal that will sustain me the rest of my life. And I don't know how to eat it.
Do you need to take care of that call?
No.
Okay. Now, who says I'm handing you anything?
Me?
Yeah. Oh, where's that coming from? Did you feel I was handing you anything?
you've got the role of a teacher. I mean, that kind
Yeah, but I've told you that, you know, I'm a nut to begin with, and she lives with me, and, you know what I mean? It's like, she knows I'm a nut.
So I won't say you, I'll say every Advaita non-dual teacher, whatever you want to call them around, talks about this nothing. That's everything. That's the awareness, whatever you want to call it. That's available for free right now in this moment. Okay. You know, and I feel like I'm just making a big bruise on my forehead, banging my head against the wall.
Because you're trying to have something that they've got.
I'm trying to. I'm a very smart person who's used my mind to accomplish things. And the one thing that is absolutely not going to help is using my mind to accomplish things.
Okay.
To do this. I am absolutely trapped in the state of, I can't do this.
Okay, so let me give you another story.
Yeah.
There's this very smart doctor that's going to die. And he knows that the Grim Reaper is coming. And so he comes up with a ploy to foil him. So he creates all these bodies, you know, and puts them all on the table, you know. And then he also gets on the table. They're all dressed like him. They all look exactly like him. So sure enough, the Grim Reaper comes in, and he sees a room of 12 bodies, and he goes, shit, you know, I'm gonna pull this one off. And so he says, well, doctor, you're very smart. He said, you know, you really have, you know, you've really foiled me this time. He said, except for one thing. And the doctor perks up. What's that? So what's that about? It's about ego. He couldn't keep still because he was so married to his intellect. In the same way, your ego is very engaged because you're so smart. Like when you said, you know, I'm very smart and I've done such and such. So right there, you're telling us that, you know, you're very invested in your...
I'm seeing the valuelessness of being smart.
Explain that.
There's no value in being smart in this. There's none. Okay. Smart just makes me miserable.
But in the world, there's a lot of value being smart.
Exactly.
Okay, and in fact, we all compete for who's the smartest. So, from that perspective, you value your smartness.
Yeah, but not that much anymore. I was just saying, it's a skill I've got. I can solve problems very well. And all I'm saying is, okay, I can solve problems very well, and I've been handed a problem I can't solve.
Now, what do you mean you've been handed? You handed it to yourself.
Okay. Then I handed it to myself.
Because you said, you know, I got to this point in my life where everything was kind of hunky-dory. Didn't he gave us this example of before he came to Advaita?
Yeah, I basically knew I was going to die, and I didn't have a clue about it, so I sort of resigned myself to it.
Right. So you came to a place of acceptance.
Some level. Miserably acceptance.
Right. And then, what happened?
I saw people who explained to me the possibility that what religious teaching, that the core of religious teaching, there's a kernel of truth in there that's available. That there is a freedom that's available. There's something that's available that allows us to stop suffering in our own lives. And I'm not interested in, like, you know, improving my personality, developing better behaviors and all these kind of things. I mean, at some level I still have that, but I realize it's not the most important thing for me, because in the end I'm going to die, and no matter how much I prove, I leave with nothing.
Right.
Okay, and so it's a lot of that's lost for me. I used to be a student and teacher of nonviolent communication.
Oh yeah, I've studied with Kelly Bryson.
Yeah, I did.
With Marshall.
Kelly introduced me to it, and I studied with Marshall and
Maybe that's where I
Daryl,
saw it before.
and I taught a little,
Mhm.
and the bottom, and there was still a dissatisfaction because I realized that it was like it wouldn't. There's no escape.
Mhm.
It says I could be the best communicator on the planet, and I'm still going to die.
Mhm.
So there was no resolution to that existential issue.
Mhm.
And then somebody handed me a tape of Gangaji. Somebody who went from a teacher, a nonviolent communication teacher, to somebody who gave it all up, who went to living a life of just phenomenal joy
Mm.
in seeing the truth of what she is.
Mhm.
And that's what I became interested in. What is this thing that provides people so much joy?
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, we create our own teachers and our own quests and stuff. You know, it's like, and the wisdom that we glean from each one of them, that's our creation. You know, so you created this moment.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's good. You know, I think it's a good creation. I think it's true that there is no suffering in truth. I think that suffering is a lie.
And when I can step back in the moment, it's like everything I said is absolutely absurd in the moment. Because in the moment there's nothing wrong. I'm sitting here having
Mhm.
the conversation becomes fun
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just sitting here. And everything else was all in my head.
Mm-hmm.
All made up to design for the illusion of somehow struggling to create something that is all a fantasy of this mind.
So this is like an admission of the fact that right now, in this moment, you are experiencing bliss.
It's really hard for me to call it bliss when there's still crap running through my chest.
Okay.
And I'm attached to it.
Okay, what would you like?
If it was crap running through my chest, and I was
What
like,
did
oh,
you
that's
call it?
cool.
What did you call it? What word
Anxiety.
did you use? No. Before, when he said that right now, this was an interesting. What you're a little closer. What was it he just said?
I don't remember.
Don't remember.
You mean just now?
Just now.
I said there's no problem.
Mm-hmm. You said you realized what an illusion,
It's all an illusion, it's all made up by the mind, and everything's okay, and there's no problem.
and you realize that you've created this.
I created all of it.
Yeah, like this web of difficulty and stuff, and that in truth, in this moment, you were enjoying. That was the word.
Oh.
Joy.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Okay, I'll go back and over, yes.
yeah.
And this is the part that I think what you're talking about gets onto is this ego has a habit pattern of arguing against that aspect of reality. Like you asked what makes me happy.
Mhm.
I'll have a moment of joy and I'll argue against that.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps me to be aware that, oh, wait, I had a happy moment here. You know,
Mhm.
it's like,
Mhm.
well, but it's just a moment. It's just a moment. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
anything. Look at all the suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the suffering doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I'm a crazy person.
Can you be okay with that?
Just kind of crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm very okay with it right now.
So, does that happen often for you? Getting okay with your craziness?
Much more, much more. I've been doing a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of, basically is challenging my own experience. You know, I have this whole story. It's like, was that really true?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is this really? It's like,
But then you got to create a whole other story to go up against
No.
as well. No.
no, that's the cool part. I think was it Nisargadatta who said this? A friend of mine who doesn't get any of this. He doesn't have a clue. He's totally vested in this thing. He sent me one of my favorite quotes, which is, "Remove all false thoughts." That's all you need to do. There are no true thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
The joy is in the recognition and the release of that attachment. Oh, God, it's a crazy person. Forget about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's freedom. It seems to be in that moment.
Yeah, there's also, I mean, it sounds like there's work there. I'm very lazy, you know. So things that I have to work at, I tend to move away from them, unless I really enjoy the work. You know.
I'd love to do the lazy way.
Yeah. So it sounds like the joy for you is, like you said, remove all false thoughts, and since all thoughts are false. So then there's a release that comes from like working at taking them away and experiencing those little moments of joy. And I think I think that's a societal belief that we have, that it's those little moments in life that make it all worthwhile. I don't hear it sounds
Yeah.
very poetic.
Yeah. That's why I stopped doing the work of Byron Katie. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Yeah, I've heard of the
Because-
work actually.
Yeah, the work, because all it is like you're doing the work all the time.
Right.
And it's like, no, I know people who don't do the work.
Right.
They're happy.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They're happy because their perspective seems to do the work.
Well, we don't know why they're happy.
Okay.
Okay? We don't know why they're happy. We don't care why they're happy.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't want to be miserable ourselves.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess the challenge for the thinking is, remember, I can't fix yesterday or tomorrow. Right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then you're going to want to fix right now. See,
But right now there's nothing to fix.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. When I remember right now, it's just I'm just sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
I had a moment. I'm concerned about them. I don't want to trust the moments because those come and go. But I did have a moment with somebody when I went, oh, I get it. I really got. I can never, if I really look deeply for a problem, I can't find it.
Mm-hmm.
I can never find a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You can relate to that? What's it mean to you?
Well, no, I was just thinking that even the back of my head a little bit, Lenin, there's no problems, only solutions. But
Oh,
that's
Lennon.
something.
John, I thought you were saying, like...
Vladimir?
John Lennon. Yeah, really, there isn't. So crazy.
Yeah. So I was doing the exercise. Okay, so what's the problem with that? Well, there's this. What's the problem with that? Well, there's this. What's the problem with that? Well, there's this.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep running to the point. And it's like it just goes around and around and around. And you get to, I'm going to be a die. I'm going to die. Okay, what's the problem with that? I'm not going to be with myself. What's the problem with that? And it's like, okay, I can't find a damn problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can find resistance to those things, but I can't find a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is thinking that we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That we can resolve the problem, or that we can create the problem, or that, whatever.
That's cute.
It's the iPhone. I am really having to run to the bathroom.
We're drinking a lot. It's cleansing.
Yeah. It's good. It gives everybody a break.
Break.
I should go in my car and get my 5 fingers.
Mm.
What's that?
I have plantar fasciitis, so I don't wear them much. I only wear them on the beach right now because I lifted weights with those. Dumbest thing in the world. Don't do squats with them. You need arch supports to carry heavy weights, and so I strained the bottom of my foot, and so I haven't been able to wear them.
You hadn't had them very long when you were doing that?
Right.
Yeah, you got to build up, I guess.
You got to develop into it. These are shoes to retrain your feet to work normally.
Yeah, I saw online where they made their own out of socks, out of the socks that are already like that, and then they put this stuff you can get at Home Depot, and you
People
can
make
make
their
your
own.
own.
Oh, okay, yeah, rubber stuff you just paint on the bottom. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You dip it, I think, or you
Yeah.
spray something like
yeah,
that.
they've got that for tools that you can cook. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be a lot cheaper.
I like those. I was
Oh,
thinking
the socks, yeah.
Yeah, they might be cheaper, but this says you got to find the right webbing and the right material for the right kind of thing. So it all depends on what you want. For an athletic shoe, they're
Yeah,
pretty good.
These are safer. I still can't run on the trails in them yet.
Now your feet have to get a lot stronger.
It's pretty painful.
You ever go up to Cowles Mountain? That's a really good trail too. I've walked it barefoot.
Where's this?
Cowles Mountain is on Jackson, off of Mission Gorge. and then there's Jackson, and
Okay.
over in that area. Look it up.
Yeah, I still find
It's
walking.
very
If I walk
popular.
if I walk on small pebbles with those, it's like I'm giving myself foot reflexology.
That's
Yes.
the theory anyway.
Yeah, they say that.
Well, I mean, to the point where it's a little too painful. So it's
Mhm.
like my feet are extremely tender
Mhm.
from wearing these all day long. So I said, okay, my heel's better now. I could start wearing those in the sand. So I went off running the other day in the sand. It felt so good because my body's starting to heal from injuries. And it felt so good.
Yeah, they taught him macrobiotics to walk on river rocks because it was like acupressure.
Cowles Mountain, though, is really good.
Yeah. Now, when Mike, right? When I asked you what you were feeling, it surprised me because it's like when you said you wanted to come today. What I understood was that you you were missing that spiritual company where you can kind of congregate and share about your experiences. But then when I asked you what you were experiencing, you made it sound like this was something, that somehow you didn't have, and it was so much work. How was it? Does anybody else remember what he said?
I don't remember exactly. My interpretation
Yeah, yeah.
was that it was sort of like a new way of looking at things, and you were absorbing it. It's all in your head right now.
Or that there was so much that it would just take so much to get there. And it
Oh yeah,
was
there's
so
a
far.
long road.
Yes, definitely. I feel
Yeah,
like-
what did you mean by that? Like, to get where?
Well, it's. I see this great big obstacle, basically the ego in the way, and it's very strong. The force is very strong. The ego is very strong in me,
The forces.
and I don't know if you say I get a taste of it, but I can see the attraction and
Attraction of?
of enlightenment, freedom,
Uh-huh.
a sense of self, or not of self, or non-seeking.
Yeah.
And it's certainly something I want, but I just still feel like there's a big obstacle in the way, or I've got a long way to go.
Susie, am I missing something? Because he doesn't strike me as an egotist. Does he strike you as an egotist?
Well, I'm just curious, what is the obstacle? What's this big, you have this big obstacle?
It's thinking too much. I think, well, is this how I'm supposed to feel? Oh, is this how I'm supposed to feel? Is this how I'm supposed to feel? Where is this oneness with God? Where is this, huge letting
Well,
go?
make us a little bit a part of your thinking. Tell me more about this questioning that you do. Is this how it's supposed to? When does that happen?
Well, it's always a self-doubt, I guess, is what you could say. Well, is this it? No, this isn't it. This can't be it.
I know that one.
And
But when does that take place? Is this it? Is it like, when are you thinking that?
it kind of feels like it's always going on in the back of my mind.
Like right now?
Yeah, definitely.
So
I see
what-
you and you look real contented, and I say, well, why can't I do that?
That's funny. I look at him and he seems to just be shining. He seems kind of very clean cut. He seems like a very honest, loving individual, like a very capable person. You look like you would make a good father if you had a family, a caring husband if you had a wife, a good child if you had parents, a good worker if you were employed, to me, you epitomize everything good about America. And yet, to you, it's like you have this tape going on about it. What is it?
Well, there's a freedom from myself
Uh-huh.
that I don't have, and I know I don't have, and I read about it, and it sounds very intriguing.
Well, tell me about this thing that you don't have. Because I don't quite believe it. I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to tell you, you guys got to keep going because I am getting more out of this than almost anything ever. I'm just feeling foolish, continuously foolish in a really great way about every single thought that's going on in my head hearing you guys talk. It's
So
just-
you're enjoying it?
I am enjoying my own insanity because it's like, it's here, it's now. There's no way to avoid it. It's impossible to miss.
Cool.
And I refuse to believe it.
Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I just feel so stupid. So you guys keep going, because I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, go for it. So, yeah, you were going to tell me a little bit about this.
Well, I mean, it's also convoluted. It's really hard to describe, but you know, I've got all these non-duality books running around in my head, and kind of a newer thing for me. So it all started with Jed McKenna. I don't know.
I may have heard the name, I don't know.
He's pretty interesting the way
Okay.
he writes and stuff. And but it doesn't really have anything to do with being a good person.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, like you say, oh yeah, good father and all that kind of stuff. It's at a completely different level than that, and it's that constant not feeling close or not feeling with everything else that's just not there. I'm so separated. Not
What
so
else?
separated.
What else? Not feeling with what else?
With nature,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's always, oh yeah, there's the sunset, but I'm not part of it. You know, there's a beautiful little stream, and it sounds really nice, but I'm sitting here on this rock kind of by myself.
Okay, is it that you're not a part of the sunset, or that you have a tape telling you that you're not a part of it?
Well, exactly, for sure, but that tape's pretty loud.
Yes, but that tape's loud for all of us, isn't it? We all have our tapes going, right? I mean, that's part of being on this plane of
But I
existence.
Can't turn it off.
No, you
I
can't.
should be able to.
Why?
Just,
Why? Why should you be able to?
No. Well, why should I? Because it's not real.
Okay, so can you just be at peace with knowing that it's not real while it's going on?
That seems false to me.
Explain that to me.
What, you know that it's not real?
Yes. So there's a part of you. There's a part of you that is engaged with it.
Right.
Okay. There's a part of you that's engaged with it, that wants the tape to come in the right way for you.
Yeah.
To say the right things. Right?
Right.
It'll never happen.
I know.
It will never happen.
For sure.
Okay, I have duality in my mind, but I know that that's its nature. It's like, I don't fight with it because I'll never win. Because to fight with it, I have to get into its Halloween costume and look like it.
Right.
And I'm gonna lose because it's got so many more costumes and it's so much more adept at it than I am. So I don't even go there.
I don't think it's necessarily a fight. It's just an acknowledgement that it's always there and it's not going away.
Well, it might go away at times.
Well, that's what I'm working at, That's
No, but you won't get it to go away by working at it. It's like quicksand.
I know.
Was it the product of a stopped mind is not a stopped mind?
Yeah.
It'll come back.
You know what it's like in quicksand?
I've heard about it.
What have you heard?
Well, that you tend to panic and you can't get out of it, and it just kind of overwhelms you.
What happens in quicksand?
What happens in quicksand? I mean,
how does it get you?
Well, the more you struggle, the deeper you go.
Yes. What you actually have to do, as I've heard, I don't know if I'd be able to, what's coming quicksand, is you have to lay back and surrender.
Oh.
Like just float in it till somebody pulls you out, probably.
Yeah. Sounds nice.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. At one point you said you knew that it wasn't real or something like that?
Right. It's all a facade. That
You know it's a facade.
Well, so I guess I don't know on the right level.
Okay, so you're not convinced that it's a facade.
Well, I mean, you can't convince yourself. It's just.
Well, I was going to ask you,
It's gotta just happen.
what knows it?
Well, exactly. It's.
There's a perspective in your awareness that knows.
It's more of an intellectual
Okay.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a feeling. That joy or that. I'd look at it as freedom, and kind of what I hear. Freedom from your own thoughts, freedom from judgment.
I don't have freedom from my thoughts. I don't have freedom from my judgment. I have thoughts, I have judgment, you know, I have mind. I don't believe it.
See,
I don't believe
I
it
told
to
you,
be
every
true.
time I'll hear one teacher will say that.
Yeah, I don't believe it to be true.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I have learned to dissociate from my thoughts.
Yeah,
It's a
there
lot
you go.
easier than straying them out. I could never do that. I used to try. I mean, when I was younger, you know, you kind of, it's like you're trying to steady the ocean when you're in a boat. And when you're younger, you know, you try to send good thoughts out or not, you know, not say bad things about people. And, you know, it's like, I used to play all those games. Not anymore. It's too much work. Because then I'm in the field of mind trying to still it or somehow mold it to where I'd like it to go or play with it in some way too.
So that disassociation, that sounds, you know, I like the way that sounds a lot. But there's also an awareness that I've read about that I'm not seeing, and also and the self-confidence, or the lack of, you know, self-consciousness still comes through. And you know, if I was in the right frame of mind, whatever that means, then, you know, it seems like that would be more released.
What would be?
The self-consciousness and the awareness would be.
Okay, so you have a concept about how you should be that you haven't yet gotten to being.
Right, definitely.
Okay. Well, can you be at peace with that?
But it affects my performance. I mean, it seems like that's an improvement that I should be working towards.
It does affect your performance. So can you accept your poorer performance?
Can I accept my performance? I don't want to.
Right. So who doesn't want to?
Well, the self that wants to impress or be comfortable with other people, and
Mm-hmm. So who is that?
I mean, on an intellectual level, there isn't anything there, but
Right.
there's
But
still
just
that
to tag
feeling.
it, just to tag it, who would that be that wants to make the right impression?
Well, the ego, for
It's
sure.
the ego. So you're fucked. I mean, it'll never be good enough.
Right.
There's always going to be better performers than you, people more impressive. It's like everything I gave you 10 minutes ago, that if you were a father, you'd be the best. It's like out the window now, because you're like, you know, you're going against the big guys. You know what I mean? You want to be number one.
Yeah.
So you're throwing away all of your accomplishments, you know, which are real, because you're a beautiful person. Because those were things of heart that I was describing.
Right.
And you're wanting to shine at the level of mind.
It's true.
So you're being hypercritical of yourself. You're not appreciating any of your accomplishments or talents. You're not even seeing who you are. That person will always wrong you. People will tell you how much they love you. You won't be able to hear it.
Right.
Because you know you're not good enough. You know there's somebody better than you. Your kids will tell you how much they appreciate you. You won't be able to hear them because you know you haven't done enough. Okay? It's just ad infinitum. Because to that one that you never will be enough. Because that one doesn't even exist. Now, there's nothing wrong with going for excellence and doing your best and trying your most. There's nothing wrong with that.
I guess what I'm thinking is if I can really let go, it would just happen. And I'd already be excellent and the best. And
Well, not at a personality level. You're gonna always be striving for more. It's just we're competitive by nature. Probably your parenting. You know, your dad probably had high expectations. He wanted you to be number one. You know, best grades or shine or whatever. You know, you've probably got that in back, push.
Yeah.
You know, and the truth is, you'll never please him enough.
yeah,
Can you accept that?
I'm trying. It's getting better,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Well, he didn't please himself enough to begin with, did he?
For sure. Yeah, he's always been disappointed in us. Oh yeah, definitely.
So if he wasn't pleased with himself and he was in there egging himself on,
Yeah.
is he going to be pleased with you?
Right.
You know, you're an extension of him in his egoic outlook.
Well, he keeps trying to tell me that he's, you know, proud of me and happy with me, and
Mhm.
you know, we help each other along a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I still in the back of my mind always thinking, oh yeah, you know, I could share this with him, or he'd really be impressed, and all
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
Yeah, definitely is there a lot.
So why do you think he's always keeps trying to tell you that he's proud of you and stuff?
Boy, he wants to be more proud of himself to a certain extent. You know,
Well,
his
maybe he rode your
accomplishments.
ass long enough. He feels a little guilty.
That's
about
part of it too, yeah. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Or he rode his own ass too
Yeah.
much on
Yeah,
my
maybe
account.
he's easing up on himself. I mean, that's sweet that he's able to express that to you because he hears himself saying it, you know.
Yeah.
But you think you could do better. Right? You that's underneath it all. You think you could.
I could. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Underneath it all, you're worse than him.
Probably. Yeah, I think so.
Well, there's nothing wrong with pushing yourself, so long as you know it to be a lie.
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, you can make up these games like people do, the goal achievement and all of this stuff, so long as you know it's not true. I mean, you hear that a lot in these Advaita teachers. They're saying, you know, this is illusion and da 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 da, you know,
Right. Oh yeah.
and it's okay, you know, just don't believe it.
Right.
So you can, you know, you can have these strategies for success and stuff like that. Just don't get lost in them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose yourself, who you really are. You gotta stay in touch with who you are, you know, separate from who you're not.
The way it got clear for me was realizing that success can't really bring me anything.
Mm.
It can't add to me.
Well, I think about making the world a better place, not really success. And I think that, you know, there's a lot